Hi, I'm Tom Miggott from Tom Miggott Photography, and this is another episode of Capture It with Tom Friends. And well, today my friend is a famous photographer and got even more famous, some would say, over the past few months, as everybody suddenly realized a weird story that happens quite some time ago, but got published in a newspaper over the past 2 months. And that's David Slater. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, you're welcome. For those of you who've been following me, you may remember I did a video back in August as I discovered the story about David and this incredible story, I would say, about the macaque picture that he took. Did I say it right? He took it. He owns it. He's the responsible guy for it. Fuck the macaque as far as I'm concerned. Excuse my French. So that video generated quite a lot of reaction from you guys, a lot of support toward David, and I wanted to I reached out to David as soon as I actually published the video. I was hoping to get a chance to speak to him, get his version of the facts, because all we know about the story is what was portrayed in the newspapers, including the Daily Mail. And for those of us who happen to live in UK, we surely know how reliable the Daily Mail is. So that'd be great to have your side of the story, David, and what comes next with this story as well. On the screen here, what we have your new website that's been refurbished, and there is currently an offer as well I'd like to talk about, to get this this canvas, which I'm going to get, actually, as a matter of fact. So I'm saying it loud. I'm going to get it, and I will show it to everyone once I receive it. But before we dive into this monkey business of yours, I would like to know a little bit more about you. Who is David? What was David doing before the macaque? What's your inspiration? What's your background? What's your goals? What moves your boat? And potentially what gear you use? And then after that, moving to this macaque thing. Is that all right?
Yeah. Well, I'll try my best. Yeah. Well, I mean, photography has been with me for a long time. From a schoolboy, I joined a mountaineering club who did photography competitions. That everybody had cameras, and that's when I picked a camera up. It sort of waned a little bit when I went to university, although I became a mountaineer and a rock climber, and I took photography up then, hanging on ropes, taking pictures of people. I did a postdoctorate, a doctorate, a postdoctorate. It all went to the wind. And it's only since I left university, when I became unemployed, that I was fortunate enough to have my car stolen, and the insurance money paid me enough to get my first camera. And I spent 2 years of my unemployed time taking pictures. And in 1997, a very serendipitous picture of a grass snake swimming through water won me a prize in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year contest. And that's where it all kicked off. That's when interest in me began.
Wow. So what is it really? I mean, a lot of us really are really admiring wildlife photographers and the work they produce, but it's always, for a lot of us, we always wonder, well, how do we dive in this? How can we make it a business? Where do we start?
Well, I think I've already given the clue away. I think you've got to get a profile. You've got to take your images to magazines or enter competitions, and hopefully you win or runners up in a competition, and your peers get an interest in you, and the press, agents start to approach you, and I think it all kicks off from there, really. Okay,
and so why wildlife? I mean, I've seen your work, and we're actually going through it at the moment as I speak. But why not portrait photography? Is that something that you do? Interested at all? Not at all?
Yeah, well, I've dabbled in all aspects of photography. Wildlife was the passion when I was at school, and mountaineering, the outdoors, natural history. At university, I was a geologist. That's my degree. So I've always been outdoorsy. I've never really wanted to be indoors as a career. But yeah, I've tried weddings. I've tried baby photography, still life. But the passion, wildlife photographers will agree with me that it's something in your heart.
And it requires a lot of passion, but also a lot of patience as well, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's like the trip with a monkey photograph. You know, every now and again you will get that one shot that sells and that does something for you. But the patience to get that one shot can last a year, 2 years. So you know, I'm out generally every day, like most wildlife photographers, up early or out late. You've got to learn your subject. You've got to sit patiently, get cold. It's a lot of time, a lot of money. And when the photograph does come along, like the monkey shot, you want to make as best capital of it as you can.
Mm. So how much planning did he go in that trip to make that shot of the macaque, or those shots, because there's more than one? That whole experience. Well,
no, well, actually, the part where the monkey is was only a 3-day trip, but it was part of a wider trip that was over 3 weeks, where I travelled all around Sulawesi from the southeast corner, southwest corner, and eventually ended up in that national park in the north. I'd thought about it for a long time. I joined conservation groups and helped out with surveys and helped them with the photography. So it was the whole package, really. But I'd always seen these pictures of the Sulawesi crested macaque, and they're called crested for a good reason, with a crest, very charismatic, very strange, especially when, you know, if you're as old as me and you remember the punk hairdo, and the piercing red eyes. I thought they were so human-like. I'd always wanted to see them. I was fascinated by the pictures that I saw. So I took the opportunity when I was over there to take extra flights and extra time out of my trip to go and see them and see what I could do.
Mm. So what gear do you use? I mean, I keep telling my students that photography is not about gear. It's the best gear is the one you have, obviously, with you. But what gear do you rely on?
Well, I'm a Canon user. I've been a Canon user for quite some time. I've been fortunate to be able to get hold of a very cheap 600mm f4 lens, cheap as in a few £1,000s instead of 8 or 9 as they are now. I've got a Canon 5D camera body at the time. That's another grand for that. And lots of peripheral lenses. So, yeah, Canon, but it isn't the gear, like you say. All of my camera equipment is broken. Some of the things don't focus. I have to manual focus them. Sometimes the flash guns don't work, you know. But I battle through. And I think when you work around problems, it helps you in the long run with your photography.
Mm. So that leads us to this macaque thing. And can you tell us your version of it? Of what happened from the moment you actually show up there in front of the beast?
Well, obviously, I'd gone there with a specific intention of making a conservation story. They're endangered, these little black monkeys. And I wanted a portrait. The national park is wild. It hasn't got a fence around it. And you are required to have a ranger accompany you. So on the first day, well, when I arranged with the ranger to be there for 3 days, he agreed. He spoke very little English, but he did agree. And by the first day, I'd only got the standard sort of stock shots of the monkeys through long lenses, etc. But at the end of the first day, I suppose we're starting to befriend them. And come the second day, we'd gone there in the morning, and I'd started to follow a troop around. And so much so that by midday, after a few rests and a few grooming sessions, they'd actually started to groom me. They started to show a lot of interest in my camera. And at one particular point, I thought I'd better get a picture of me with the monkeys. So I put my camera down on a self-timer, on a log. They were all sitting at the time. They were totally confident with me by this time. So I set the camera up on a self-timer log, and I had to keep running around the other side of the log and try to get me with all the monkeys around me. And yes, the camera would fire. And that would only pique the interest of one little monkey on the log, who eventually came and grabbed the camera. He grabbed the camera, he went on the other side of the log. I had to try and catch the monkey, at which point my guide, by this time actually, my guide had got so bored of the whole event, he'd gone off for a sleep and a smoke. But the noise of me trying to chase the monkey woke him or something, and he appeared, and he actually got the camera back off the monkey. Mm. The camera is very big, by the way, compared to the monkey. It couldn't, it wasn't just a little mobile phone or anything. So it's very easy to get the camera back. And in trying to get the camera back off the monkey, some shots were being fired. It seemed to be interested in the button and the noise of the shutter. But we got the camera back, and I looked at the images as I always do, and they were rubbish. They were all out of focus. I deleted them. But to me, that over time, I wanted this full face portrait of the monkey with its piercing red eyes looking straight down the lens, and it was a photograph that wasn't materialising. I could do it through a long lens, but I wanted it close up in a wide-angle lens. So it occurred to me very sort of slowly that if I was to put the camera on a tripod, and that was the reason for them not... I did it so they couldn't steal the camera again, and put a cable release on it. If I could get them to touch the cable release and start squeezing the cable release, it would make the noise that piqued the monkey in the first place, and they'd look into the lens and take their own photograph. It took a while, but they actually did it. But people have to realise there's two parts to the story. There's an early part where the monkey grabbed the camera and the picture came to nothing, and there's a second part where I visualised an image and I made creative moves towards getting that image. Now, when I came back from the trip, an agent approached me and saw the pictures on my website. He said, "These look very interesting. Can you tell me the story behind them?" So we had a conversation. He went with the story, and straight away, within the hour of us agreeing what the words would be, 3 papers picked it up: the Daily Mirror, the Sun, and the Daily Mail. And all 3 of them relied upon a press release that my agent had written. And it was a fun story, and in true journalistic fashion, and it was no problem to me at the time. They embellished the quotes a little bit, started switching the quotes around, and they condensed the story. I mean, I've said quite a long story to you. People get bored with that. So the journalists put them together, and basically they tried to say that the monkey ran off with the camera and took a self-portrait.
How long ago was that?
The story's in 2011, but it'd been on my website sometime before that. But that really isn't the point. The point is that the press picked the story up and embellished a little bit. It was fun. Nobody had a problem with that. We didn't realise at the time, neither me or my agent realised that a copyright issue would arise, because then as now, I believe I have copyright with all the work and the vision that I put into that. But the problem is that as soon as people start to think, oh, well, if a monkey presses the button, or any animal, then the photographer doesn't have copyright, and that's nonsense. It depends upon the facts of the story. And in this instance, with Wikipedia and a few other people, the facts are irrelevant to them. They'd seen something in the paper, and to them that was the truth. And they've stuck with that ever since. When you go to Wikipedia now, who've now hosted my shop for 2 years, promoting it to be taken for free, they continually put the source of the images as the Daily Mail. And when you read the Daily Mail article, it makes you think that a monkey grabbed the camera and took its own self-portrait without my intervention whatsoever. And that's the problem.
Okay, so why did we hear a lot of noise about this a couple of months ago? So what happened? Because it's been 3 years already.
Well, it's been 3 years, yeah. I mean, it died down. But it was at the moment that I realised that Wikipedia had put it on their website. And at this time, I didn't even know about the Creative Commons issue. I thought, cheeky sods. They haven't asked me permission to put it on Wikipedia. But in the background, there was another group also arguing about the copyright on the picture. So I thought, I'd better get this taken down anyway. So I went through the Wikipedia US company. So I went through the US system, which is a pain in itself. They've created an insular takedown system where you have to go through a piece of legislation to get any US company to take it down. Eventually I did that, and Wikipedia agreed. You know, they asked questions. They say, why am I claiming copyright on this? I told them the reasons, and they accepted it. They took it down. And within a few days, I expect, and I wasn't really monitoring it very well at the time, but within a few days, I suspect that decision had been overturned by an individual editor or a group of editors, I don't really know, and put it back on there, despite my insistence that it was my copyright, despite some editors saying they agreed. There is an element within Wikipedia, obviously, that they think they are above the law. And this is the problem now. Wikipedia believe they are above the law. They don't care what a judge is going to say. They're testing whether I've got the guts to take this to a court. They know that the American system is a problem for foreign photographers, and they've got all the money, and I haven't. And they know that. This is the system that photographers are facing now.
So I want to pick on something that you just said, that Wikipedia/Wikimedia believes that they own the law, they're above the law. But I seem to recall that a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago there was something in the news claiming that the decision had been made by the U.S. Copyright Office, stating that David Slater does not own the right of the monkey. What's the real deal there?
Well, again, that's Wikimedia. I think they're getting scared because they know the story. It's been on my website since 2011, since the story broke. It's been in the Guardian newspaper in England. It's been in magazines. The true story, what I've just told you, Wikipedia have got an agenda. They are blinkered to the truth. They want to go along with the fact that this is Creative Commons, and they want to make a story out of copyright. I've lost my track now.
So let me help you on this. So has the U.S. Copyright Office decided or not on this matter?
No, they haven't. So Wikipedia have now, in order to sideline people from the facts, and the journalists from the facts too, by claiming that the U.S. Copyright Office, in a draft compendium edition that's going to be published in December of this year, wrote that they had debated my particular case and had come to the same conclusion as Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia were going to journalists saying that this is the case, and it's not. It's another lie. What actually has happened, it's a draft copy for guidelines for Copyright Office staff. It isn't law, it's not legislation. It's just for people in the office when they get a batch of photographs and people from around the world. There's a guideline as to straight away determine what is and what isn't copyrightable. And on page 8, straight away, they'd inserted a lie. I mean, remember that the US copyright hadn't touched this thing for 30 years, and all of a sudden decided it would do. And it wrote, a photograph taken by a monkey isn't a copyrightable work. There's no clarification of what taken means. There's a preamble to that sentence that talks about authorship and creativity, but not what taking a photograph is. There's an implicit suggestion that taking a photograph is merely pressing a button. So the US Copyright Office, in my opinion, are insulting. They're insulting not just to me, but to photographers in general, that the creative aspect of a photograph is just simply pressing the button. Mm. Now, remember that the photograph is now started to be called a selfie.
Yes.
It's never a selfie. Selfie was a term that came in 2012. My photographs was a prearranged, very cleverly created situation where a DSLR, a large, Canon 2,000 pounds worth of equipment, was put on a tripod with a cable release. Whereas a selfie is something that generally gets put on a little lightweight phone where you just press the button and an amusing picture is taken and you post it on social media. So it seems almost that Wikipedia, US Copyright Office, are now in cahoots to make the world think that photography is nothing more than pressing a button as though you're on a camera phone. They seem to disregard all the creative elements, all the F numbers and the dial-in, the ISO numbers that serious photographers use. And I just think it's an insult. And I really hope that people watching this are going to go to the US Copyright Office website and add their comments, which is very easily found. You can go to my website or my Facebook site and add your comment to this outrage of how we are now being treated by the authorities and people like Wikipedia.
And in fact, I'm actually showing here on the screen because I've seen the post on your Facebook page, and for those of you who wants to and should actually like and show your support to David on Facebook, go there, because sadly there are only 65 likes on your page. That's criminal. That is. I always complain I don't have enough, but 65, that's criminal. So guys, please show your support. Go there. There's the address on your screen. Go there and click the like button, please. And you'll find there's a link here that you guys see with my mouse from the 17th of September. And there's a link where you can actually go check it out, this whole story on the US Copyright Office. One of the feedback that I've seen, or questions or statements that I've seen from the worldwide reactions, has been around questioning whether this whole story is kind of a publicity stunt. Because today with celebrities, it's all about this, right? Making the buzz. And so questioning whether this whole thing is not just about making the buzz, and that now David Slater is more famous because of this macaque that he ever was before. Is it all about money at the end? Or what can you say about to those folks?
Like I've already said, the story started in 2011. Actually, when the photograph was actually taken by the monkey, it didn't even occur to me that that was a story. I was just happy to have the image, and I wanted to use that image to put to my agents and to hopefully create a conservation story out of it. It wasn't about me making money. I wanted to make the monkeys money. And it was nothing to do with me. The fact that Wikipedia, in the last month and a half, I've made this another story. It wasn't of my making. They've made the story. They're promoting themselves. And yes, there's a silver lining to all of this. Yes, I am getting publicity, and it's generating a few more sales of prints, etc. But nothing like it should be. In 2011, I'd done 100 prints in the first sort of couple of weeks. I might have made 10 prints in the last 6 weeks, simply because Wikipedia are telling the world you can go to their site, take this image, do your own print. So nobody's interested in going via me. What is interesting, though, is that a lot of the newspapers are still buying the image from my agent. They are really not buying into the fact that it's Creative Commons. And they still honour the fact that I have copyright, and that's why they go via my agent. So despite what the papers can sometimes say against, and some of them are doing, they still come to me for the payment.
So one thing that I find interesting is that, yes, this is your story with this monkey, but I think your story brings up a bigger picture, right? Because we know that, especially on the wildlife photography world, mostly this one, because achieving the perfect shot can take days, weeks, and sometimes months because of seasons and so on. Photographers will not stay behind the bush all night long, all day long, all week long to get that shot, and it's common practice to rely on movement sensors or of any kind to trigger the photograph. And I'm thinking of the National Geographic magazine, for example, which published a lot of wildlife photography, and we could expect that, well, your story somehow could impact or be revealing to their future. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, and I don't think people should ignore my particular story, as funny as it might be and interesting as it might be, because it does have a wider aspect. The monkey pressed the cable release, and the cable release is a wire that's attached to the presser, to the shutter button. Wildlife photographers for decades now have been using pressure pads with a wire connected to the trigger button, movement sensors, trip wires, you name it, we've got it. The technology is there now, and it could equally be argued, as in my case, that an animal that steps on a pressure pad, that takes up through a wire and hits the button, they're taking the photograph. The animal is taking the photograph. So yeah, National Geographic photographers, Steve Winter, who's one of the 2008 winners of Wildlife Photographer of the Year, very openly said that all his photographs were taken on camera traps. He wasn't there at the time. It was a little bit of a debate at the time, but nothing like this. But yeah, I wonder now whether the mindset of people who think intellectual property should be free for the benefit of the community are now going to target photographs such as Steve Winter's. Your amateur photographers are taking pictures like this all the time. This is very affordable technology now. So yeah, copyright law needs to be changed. We shouldn't be talking in terms of taking a photo, but creating a photo. And the copyright law needs to be brought into the 21st century. People got to realise that when the copyright law was written, particularly in the UK and the US, it was 30 years ago. It was only 6 weeks ago when this story broke that the US actually started to look at rewriting it. And what did they rewrite? They put a couple of sentences in directly attacking my photograph. And it's just totally insulting. So I'm hoping now, I'm contacting a lot of people in the copyright industry now. I'm hoping to maybe champion a bit of a change in copyright law. You know, I'm learning a lot about the law. I'm being sort of forced into it, actually. But it's interesting, it's enjoyable. And hopefully people will get a bit back behind me, especially photographers, because even if they're not wildlife photographers, there are other things afoot to get your photographs. If you have your image on Google and you haven't got it assigned, it can't be traced back to you. They're going to have it, mate. You know, the people have been after them for years. If you've got your picture without accreditation, or it's on your website or a blog, and people want to use your blog in their own news story, they're going to take it under what's called fair use. The protection we have now is dismal. And even when you think you have protection automatically through copyright law in your country, particularly the UK, think again. Because if somebody from a foreign country, say China, Singapore, or whoever, takes your photograph off your blog, despite whether it's got a copyright notice on it or not, you've got to find a lawyer in that country, and sometimes you've got to fight your rights under their laws. And that's the case with the US and that I'm fighting.
So it's a good advice that you just implied there. Very often, one recurring topic is watermarks, right? And people abuse them. I think people are confusing copyrights, watermarks with a signature, as any artist would sign his artwork. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this? Because I'm looking at your website at the moment. I'm looking at the fantastic secretary bird picture. It's a fantastic bird, and I've noticed all the others. I don't see any watermark or visible watermark. So what do you recommend we do, professional and amateurs? Because we're not going to spend money in lawyers and, you know.
Yeah. There's half advice. There's not good advice. I can only give half advice. The reason why some of my pictures haven't got copyright marks on is because they've been on there a long time. And like many other photographers, I never used to really worry about it. I'm a UK photographer, and copyright is automatic, or so you think. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it is automatic. You do have rights if you find an infringer, but finding an infringer these days and getting them into court or getting them to pay is nigh on impossible. It's a full-time job. So yeah, watermark your pictures by all means. I'd advise that people put them artistically, if you can, across the middle of the image so they can't be cropped off or cloned out. I began my website thinking that would ruin the image, and it does ruin the image, and that's sad. I mean, that we have to go and ruin our images just to protect our inherent rights. But make sure that your imagery is traceable back to you, and I'm not really sure yet how we do that. That has to be updated in copyright.
Are you thinking of just making sure that the metadata inside your image points to your website, your name, your pseudo copyright?
It's a good idea, and it should work, but media outlets, and Wikipedia in particular, are now stripping all metadata. Even the editors no longer can see metadata. So there's no, it doesn't matter whether you put a copyright notice in there, an address, a telephone number. It's going to get stripped out before you know it. Goes on Google Images. Nobody knows who you are, can't find you. It's going to go on Creative Commons. Okay.
Just to wrap up on this monkey thing, I've noticed that there is currently an offer for people who would like to officially and respectfully order a print, especially a canvas of this macaque. And can you tell us a bit about this? Because there is the offer we see. I discovered it on your Facebook page, and then I went onto your website. and there is some kind of a donation happening behind on the background of this, right? So can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, well, clearly I've lost all rights to my photographs now. I'm not really making any money of it. And very kindly, a German print company approached me, who sympathise with my plight, but also are very much into conservation. And they said that if I'm willing to give them permission to use the photograph on a canvas, they would give a canvas away free to anybody who ordered it, and go to my website to get one of these. You only have to pay postage, which is only about £8. In fact, you don't even need to get the selfie, if you want to call it a selfie. You can put your own image on. It's a way to get a canvas with your own print on it. And they will donate £1 or $1, just over $1, for every canvas order. And hopefully if we get tens of thousands of pounds, or tens of thousands of orders, we'll generate tens of thousands of pounds to actually go directly to the conservation group that's mentioned on my website.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. And as I said at the beginning of this video, I am ordering it today. So hopefully I'll get it soon and I'll show it to everyone. But I'm hoping that I'm not going to be the only one. And I think your story is inspiring. Your work is inspiring. I mean, suffice to say, just going through here, just looking at different African raptors that we see here. We've got fish, eagle. Talked about this secretary, but you don't only do this. So I'm going back to your gallery because it's really rich.
Those are old photographs. Those are old.
So in fact, yeah, you're saying it's all photographs. So what's your latest project?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've got no money to go to exotic places at the moment, and I've just had a daughter. She's just gone to school, so I've been a bit lax on the tropical forest front. But my passion for the last 3 years is to save. I've set up a conservation group in my hometown, or in my home area, to save the wild boar in the UK. It's a very controversial species that needs a lot of help, and I'm one of probably the forefront of the photography of wild boar in Britain. So yeah, I get a lot of media interest in that, and it's an ongoing project. They're being slaughtered all the time now, for money, for sport, for bloodlust, and they're a very vital species if you care anything about ecosystems, and soil, and forests. So hopefully people can help me on that as well.
And I see some amazing photograph taken in Norway. How about Wales? Because you live in Wales.
I just moved to Wales, yeah.
So how's the landscape there? Surely full of potential, right?
It is. It's full of rain as well. Yeah, but it's full of snow. I mean, I've been in Snowdonia, the Brecon Beacons, for many years. I do take landscape photographs. It's not what I'm known for. But yeah, and there's lots of animals here. I mean, I used to live in the forest thing where the wild boar are. I'm only 13 miles away now. Lots of species to go out wherever you go. Always look for the wildlife on your doorstep.
All right. Well, that's a good conclusion to this video. So thank you again, David, for taking the time to give us your side of the story, which differs greatly from what the media have been saying. And I'm really hoping that you get out of this misery that this story has brought upon you, and hopefully for the greater good as well for the rest of us. You don't need to be a pro to fully appreciate the whole copyright issue here. So thanks again, and for those of you who are watching, well, until next time, this is Tom Migot saying, if you like it, well, capture it. Watch out for your copyright. Bye.